Hi everyone, long time no see, it's Vesper. Sorry for dropping off of the face of the internet essentially for a while there, but especially YouTube. I was away for like 4 months at least, and before that I had been away too, and yeah, I'm sorry about that. I just ended up needing a lot more time away from YouTube among other things than I thought. A lot's new in my life right now. A lot has changed. I have a new job, a new apartment, a new city, but unfortunately there are some things that have not changed. For those of you who don't know, I've been struggling with mental health issues, namely depression and anxiety, for well over 15 years now. And I made a video a while back about my mental health issues. I'll put a link to it around here somewhere. But you might want to go watch that before you watch this one because it'll give a lot of context to everything that I'm about to say. The point is that I recognized the downward spiral that my mental health was taking as far back as September, October before the US presidential election, but I thought I had it under control. I mean, I did have it under control. I made that video about how I felt after the election. It took me a while to make it, but I did, and I was obviously depressed in that video, but you know, I thought I had things under control. I did. And after that video, I mean, it took a few months later, but I did make the video about job hunting and stuff that was going on in my life. That was my last video. And yeah, I had things under control more or less, but then I hit a huge pocket of turbulence and shit got bad. I went down. It got to the point where my mom was kind of concerned, and even my coworkers eventually started noticing something was off, and I haven't even been working with them for that long. And it was just affecting like my daily life. Like, it got to the point that my anxiety, I don't know, I was stumbling over random words for no reason, and my thoughts were really slow, and I even developed a reoccurring stutter. Like, it was the weirdest thing in all my years of being depressed and anxious. That had never happened. That scared me because I don't stutter. What the fuck was happening to my head? That was the point where, you know, I knew things were bad. So as I've said, I've been struggling with depression and anxiety for over 15 years, over half of my life pretty much, because I'm 32 now. But having said that, it's only until relatively recently that I started to actually be conscious of how shitty my mental health is and try to be proactive and do things to take better care of myself. Having said that, there was one thing, actually two things, that I absolutely refused to do to try to take better care of myself, and that was, or is rather, therapy and medical intervention, medical treatment. Don't get me wrong, I know that there's nothing wrong with therapy, there's nothing wrong with medicine, these are wonderful things that help a lot of people, but I think I talked about this in my other video about depression and anxiety. I am just deeply skeptical, deeply negative for a lot of reasons about any benefit that those two things could have for me personally. And I know it's ridiculous, it's illogical, but there is a lot behind it. I'm just not going to go into it right now. Basically, regardless of my reasoning, it boils down to I thought that I should be able to cope without those things. And if I couldn't, then it just reflected negatively on me or something. I don't know. It's illogical. But it's there. The feelings are still there. And there's a lot behind them. Just know that. So for years and years, I dealt with it on my own extremely, extremely poorly. But still, I dealt with it on my own, and I was determined to do the same this time. But one morning, I woke up and I lay in bed crying, and it just hit me. It hit me how tired I was of everything. How tired I was of trying to deal with my own emotions on my own, and how tired I was of what my life had become, because it was to the point where I couldn't even scroll through my Tumblr dashboard without passing certain content, and just mental anguish, mental turmoil, and like I was just tired. So I picked up my phone, and for the first time in a long time, I resignedly searched the internet, Googled for psychiatric clinics in my area. I figured that since I was finally living in a metropolitan area rather than a rural countryside area, I'd finally have more options. And I did. As tired as I was, as desperate as I was to stop being tired, I was still extremely skeptical and negative and reluctant to even accept medicine as a possibility. So I went no further than clicking on the first hit, or rather touching the first hit, that came up on Google, because it took considerable effort to even get that far. Long story short, that first hit led to an English-speaking clinic in Tokyo that just happens to have hours that barely work with my work hours, so before I could get cold feet and turn away, I emailed them an inquiry about an appointment. They responded that same day, later that same day, and I set up an appointment for 2 weeks in advance, I think 2 weeks later at the end of June. And those 2 weeks waiting for that appointment were the most fucking anxious, some of the most anxious weeks ever. Just knowing that that appointment existed, that in 2 weeks time, 1 week time, a few days time, I would be sitting in the office of a psychiatrist was torture, was so anxiety inducing. Oh my god. And now I could go into the details of that first appointment, but I don't want to bore you, and this video has already gotten long and I don't want it to be any longer than it has to be, so I will just touch upon a few things that went on during that appointment. I do want to stress that it was an appointment with a psychiatrist, not a psychologist. So it was a preliminary consultation with a psychiatrist, which is a medical doctor who is primarily concerned with medical intervention, not therapy. Although he does offer therapy, that is not what I was there for. And so, yeah, it was a 50-minute consultation about medical intervention, basically. So I talked a lot about my medical history, my family's medical history, things like that. It was not at all like your stereotypical therapy session. But even so, I was really caught off guard when, within the first 3 minutes of having entered his office and sat in his chair, he asked me straight up about my sexuality. He was like, "So, what's your sexuality? Are you straight, gay?" Not that that's all there is, but he was so nonchalant about it. I mean, I couldn't help but wonder if he asked all of his clients that. But at the same time, I was sitting there in his office in a business suit, complete with a vest and a necktie, and, assumption, I don't know. I had come rushed straight there from work, so what could I do? That was what I wear to work, so whatever. Anyways, I was exhausted. I'd just gotten off work, and I was not wanting to deal with any shit, because I was really anxious just being there in that chair. So I said, let's just say I'm queer. That's what I said. Let's just say I'm queer. To which he was like, "So what does queer mean for you?" And I'm just sitting there in my head like, oh my god, why? No, why'd he go there? I don't want to have to 101 educate someone today. So I was like, "Have you heard of asexuality?" And he was like, "I've heard of it, I've heard talk of it, but I don't know much about it, ... So I was like, okay, so I can potentially be attracted to people of any gender, but that attraction is never sexual. I'm a bi-ace. And he was like, "Isn't that like pansexuality?" And I'm like, "You know what pansexuality is." Yes, I'm bi/pan asexual. And with that, he went on to the next question, like, totally smoothly, not awkwardly at all, and I'm just left there like, whoo, god, I navigated that. Wow, that happened. Anyways, essentially it was 50 minutes of me talking about my family history with mental health specifically, which is extensive now that I sit down and think about it, not in his office, in his chair, but at the time I couldn't think of all that much. Talked about my history with mental health stuff. Oh, and I forgot to mention that prior to the appointment, I was sent a link to a website to do like a diagnostic thing, and I was supposed to update that thing on a daily basis with my mood and stuff like that. So he was going through that diagnostic stuff and that report over the past 2 weeks while we were talking, and straight up I told him how skeptical I was of medicine and therapy, how negative I felt about it in relation to myself specifically. Not that I had any problem with therapy or medicine for other people, just in relation to me. And to my surprise, or just to my astonishment, I don't know, towards the end of the session, he became very, very persistent about trying to sell the fact that medicine isn't bad and medicine could help me to me. Like, he put considerable effort into that, and I was just kind of taken aback by that. I mean, don't get the wrong idea, he wasn't forceful or anything like that. If he had been, I would have rebelled and fought back and pushed back against him. But he was just, you could tell he was trying to sell medicine to me because, I don't know. But given the fact that I was there, sitting in his chair, because I had given up on trying to get through things on my own and had resigned myself more or less to the fact that maybe I should give medicine a try, it really caught me off guard how hard he tried to convince me that medicine isn't the enemy. Anyway, long story short, I left his office that night with medicine in hand, and I felt kind of mixed about already having medicine in hand after just like one consultation, but at the same time, I did decide that I wanted to try it. So I left with 50 milligrams of, what is it, Sertraline, 50 milligrams is an antidepressant, generic Zoloft, I think, and what is this, diazepam. This is only to be used if I have an anxiety attack. So yeah, primarily this. I had the appointment on June 30th, and I started taking the medicine the next day. So July 1st, I started antidepressants, and it's now July 9th, so after this video, I'll take day 9 of this stuff. I read everywhere and was told by a lot of people that the first week on antidepressants would be brutal, and holy shit, it was terrible. Oh my god. From the first pill, from within the first hour to 2 hours of taking the first pill, I already had side effects, and the first 4 to 5 days was like a roller coaster of side effects. I had different side effects like literally every single day, and I still have side effects even on day 9, but they've gotten a bit better now. I had hot flashes, I had extreme fatigue, and the fatigue I'm still dealing with, but it was especially bad. It's especially bad in the morning after I take my medicine. But fatigue is really bad in general because I'm already extremely exhausted all the time in general. So to have another level of fatigue on top of that, I was like a zombie at work. I am like a zombie at work every day in the morning. It's really hard. And I have weakness in my limbs, in my arms, and my legs, especially in the morning after taking the Sertraline. That's especially hard for me because I live in the general Tokyo area. I commute by train every morning, so every morning I'm holding on to the strap things on the train, and like my hands are so weak, especially in the beginning, were so weak that I couldn't even like hold on to the thing the whole time. And my legs, I have to go in Tokyo, in Japan, Tokyo metropolitan area, in case you don't know, there are a lot of fucking staircases. There are escalators too, but you go up and down a lot of staircases every day, and my legs were so weak that going up and down those staircases was a problem. And yeah, that affected my commute every day, every morning. It still does. But it's gotten a little better, at least, thankfully. And one day, just one day, ridiculously, I had the worst dry eye ever. Like, it was so bad, it was like borderline painful. And I literally had to rush out and buy eye drops for the first time in my life ever. And use them copiously. I didn't even know how to use them. I had to use them copiously throughout that day. And it was just so bad, I had a migraine that day. My eyes were so dry and painful and uncomfortable. And I've never, like I said, never had to use eye drops a day in my life. But it was only one day that I had extreme dry eyes. Like, what the fuck? I don't even know. And the most ridiculous side effect, and it is as ridiculous as it's going to sound, is that I yawn a lot more. And not just that, but every time I yawn, I get this really acute, really intense nausea. Like, I'm literally, the second I start yawning, I have a gag reflex. I don't actually gag. I don't actually vomit or anything like that. Sorry, TMI. But, like, the nausea that I feel just from yawning is so fucking intense that it leaves a taste in my mouth for like an hour afterwards, even though nothing actually happened. But I have the taste in my mouth, and my mouth hurts, and it's just the weirdest fucking thing. And it was so acute and so intense for the first, I want to say 4 days. It wasn't until like day 5 that it started coming down a notch, and it's down much, it's much less than it was in the beginning now on day 8, 9. But it's still there. Every time I yawn, it's very unpleasant to yawn. And I yawn more than normal, so that is the worst side effect by far. And the other side effect that continues to affect me even now on day 9 is that I used to be a person who would sleep through the night smoothly, not wake up at all unless I had to go to the bathroom. I go to sleep, wake up whatever time I'm supposed to wake up. But now I wake up in the middle of the night like clockwork between 3 a.m. and 4:30 every single day since I've been taking this pill. 3 a.m., 4:30. In that time period, every single day I wake up automatically like clockwork, and it is the weirdest thing because I never used to wake up in the middle of the night like that. But now I don't even, I could record myself. It would be like approximately the same time every single night. I don't even know. What's up with that? So anyway, yeah, day 9 on this generic Zoloft, Sertraline, I don't know, 50 milligrams. And there have been a lot of negative side effects, but there have also been positive since day 1. I have noticed a change in my mental state. I do want to make it clear, however, that these pills are no magic happy pills. I am still depressed, I am still anxious, I am still angry, among other things, and I likely forever will be. My depression is such that it doesn't just come and go. It's not a periodic thing. It's a constant thing in my life. The only thing that changes is the level of it. I have more intense episodes periodically, but it is ever persistently, constantly there over the course of over 15 years. It is not going away. But what these pills do, however, is bring it down a notch to make it so that I can more easily get on top of it. It gives me a leg up on it. It does not make it go away, but it does help me manage it. That's all that I wanted. That's all that I had hoped for in taking antidepressants. I did not hope for or expect to be magically happy once I took these fucking pills. Unlike what society would have you believe antidepressants are, they are not a happy pill. But I am getting what I wanted from them. It is easier for me to get on top of my feelings and rein them in now. I've noticed that from day 1. And yeah, ultimately, even though I'm getting what I wanted from them right now, ultimately I do not know if I will stay on Sertraline or on this 50 milligram dosage. I don't know what I will ultimately decide in the future. I might change medicine next week or in 5 days when I go see the psychiatrist again. I don't fucking know. But for now, I will say that I'm happy that I tried them because, yeah, I'm getting what I want from them, plus lots of side effects, and that the side effects are the key thing that going forward I'm going to have to evaluate, decide what I want to do about that. But, yeah. happy story, kinda, sorta, I guess. Having said all that, as happy as I am about the results that I'm getting from the antidepressants, side effects aside, there is still this ever-present nagging negativity in the back of my mind about the fact that I'm taking antidepressants at all. I mean, all the power to other people taking them and getting positive effects from them. That is freaking awesome. But for me personally, there's that voice in my head is still criticizing me for doing that. I have not gotten over that. But it occurred to me, I had an epiphany, and this might be TMI, this might be triggering for some people who don't want to hear about the shit that my body puts me through on a monthly basis. If you don't want to hear that, you might want to skip ahead a few seconds, a minute, whatever. But it occurred to me that for nearly a decade, I took birth control to help manage the physical distress that my body put me through every month. And I did that without batting an eye, without any self-criticism in regards to that. So if I could take a pill to help manage physical distress without criticizing myself, why the fuck couldn't I take a pill to help manage my mental distress? I mean, when that occurred to me, that was literally a fucking epiphany for me. Like, why am I beating myself up over managing my mental health with a pill when I didn't beat myself up for managing my physical fucking distress with a pill? Like, it's the same thing, just mentally. I don't know. Emotions are fucking illogical. I don't know. I don't know anything. Even though that occurred to me, it was an epiphany. The negativity, because, you know, that's how depression works, keeps coming back, and every time it does, I have to remind myself, it's okay to take a fucking pill to help yourself. It's okay. And I'm not just saying this to myself, although I need to hear this as much as anyone else, but to you too, if you happen to be in this similar situation as I am, please take care of yourself, and you're not wrong for it. Eventually, I did go off of birth control and start trying to manage my monthly hell without the help of a pill, and I might eventually go off of antidepressants. I don't know the future, whatever. All I know is that right now, I will, I think, stick with this antidepressant fucking thing, even if it's not this particular antidepressant. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with things and do whatever I need to do to not fucking be in that fucking hell that I was in last month. Yeah. Therapy, on the other hand, yeah, no, that is a whole nother beast that I am not ready to confront right now, I don't think. One step at a time, okay? But actually, I have a question for you, viewers, anyone who has made it this far into this video, and I know it's hell of long. I thank you for watching this far. Thank you, thank you. But anyone who's on antidepressants or other medication yourself for your mental health, how do you feel about it? How did you feel in the beginning? Were you reluctant to pursue these things? What has your experience been? Good or bad? I would love to hear about your experiences in the comments if you care to share. Thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully I'll be back really soon with another video. I have a lot of videos that I want to make actually. It's just the problem is just getting up the motivation and the time and all that shit. But hopefully I'll be better about it now. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. By the way, I also have another thing helping me deal with anxiety. This bootleg Japanese fidget cube. Really, really helpful for me anyways, because I didn't realize just how much I fidget until I got this thing. And look at the design. It's just horrible. Holy shit. I just want a black one.